Thank you, Carl. This evening's forum was posted as a board meeting in case we have a quorum of board members present, and we do in fact have a quorum present. So at this time, I'm going to call to order the special meeting of the Waco ISD Board of Trustees. We do have a quorum of members present, and we'll proceed to reports and discussion of the public forum on consolidation and school closing options. Welcome. Thank you for coming out. I want to repeat what Carla said. It's really important to this board that we get meaningful input from the community as we move forward with what are going to be some very difficult decisions. I indicated we've got a quorum of board members present. Let me introduce who is in attendance this evening from the Waco ISD Board of Trustees. Mr. Alex Williams down here in front. Sitting to his left is Alan Sykes. To his left is Larry Pettis. My name is Pat Atkins, and she's pointing at someone else. Carrie Dupuy is over here on the rail. Let me give you a little background on where we are in the process so you know how we got to this point. During the last legislative session, we were told, after all the numbers were crunched, that we'd be looking at about a $4.2 million reduction in our state funding. There's been some additional revenues and some cuts that have already been made, but we have an additional $3.5 million that we have to cut from next year's budget. You're going to hear tonight from the superintendent sort of the scope of those issues and the problem. But starting in September, we had a consultant who provided us with this report, which is essentially a demographic study full of maps and charts on every neighborhood, every school, down to every block in terms of where our kids reside and conditions of our facilities, and begin looking at possible closures and consolidations. Every month since then, the board has held workshops, and we've had additional agenda review meetings where we've asked for additional information from the administration, and they've provided that to us. All of that was just background. All of that was trying to get to a point where we might have a proposal, or what ultimately became two proposals, to present to the community so we could begin to get input. I need to emphasize something that I think is very important. No decisions have been made. We do not have any agreement other than we got a general consensus among the board that we were comfortable with Dr. Cain taking these two proposals out as a starting point for discussion to begin to get input from the community. And tonight we're finally at that starting line. I've been on this board for a little over 9 years. Getting meaningful public input is important to this board. We have tried to expand our use of the website. We've tried using social media like Facebook. Over the last few years, we held almost 30 town hall meetings trying to get the community's input on the qualities and characteristics they wanted in the next superintendent. We had numerous meetings and committees assisting us with the scope of the bond issue. We have really, over the last few years, tried to make a real commitment. And we understand these are your schools, these are your kids, and we need your input if we're going to make the right decisions in what's going to be a very difficult situation. Having said that, let me tell you the type of information I think is going to be most helpful. We know there are wonderful things happening on the campuses of Waco ISD. We know there are special teachers who are touching the lives of young people. We know we have recognized and exemplary campuses in this district, and we know some of those campuses are some of the ones that you're going to see in these proposals tonight. Nobody wants to close schools. This was not something that the board thought was a good idea. It's not anything that the board wants to do. But as you're going to hear tonight, we only spend our money in 3 areas. That's salaries, programs, and facilities. And we don't want to, we're trying to free up money so we can get salary increases because no employee in the district got any raise at all this year. We don't want to have to cut staff. We definitely don't want to have to impact instructional programs. And that leaves us with the facility issues and maximizing the savings we can get there. We schedule these meetings right after the first of the year because we want this input, and we're still more than 6 weeks out from any decisions being made. We want to be able to take this input. When we get to the public input, you're going to have scribes up here who are going to take down everything you say, and the board will get that in a report form so that we can review this as we begin to evaluate these proposals and maybe come up with a third proposal. I mean, there was a proposal A, then a B, then a proposal C, then a C revised, and then a D, and then an E before we ever got any consensus on what we were comfortable even taking out to the community. Having said all that, there's one last thing you need to understand. We want your input. We want your ideas. We're thrilled that you're here. But at the end of the day, there are some board members who have to make this decision. And it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get what you want. We are here to listen. And we want to hear it. We're going to process it. We're doing this early enough so maybe we can change some of these proposals. But just because we're listening doesn't mean we're promising we're going to give everybody what they want. There are going to be some difficult decisions that have to be made in this process. And at the end of the day, it's going to be 7 trustees who have to make that decision in the scope of a much larger budget. And we may decide we're not going to close any campuses. But if we go that route, then we're going to have to look at freeing up budget dollars by cutting programs or laying off staff. And those are the types of big picture decisions. These decisions can have to be made in the context of. Last thing. Thank you for being here. One of the things that has held Waco ISD back the last few years has frankly been apathy in this community. It is, we need an engaged community. We need parents, we need an engaged staff, we need a business community, and we need taxpayers to come give us their input. We need you to tell us when we're not doing something well, or when we're not doing things at the level you expect us to do them at. It's easy to make decisions at board meetings when nobody's there, and to make those decisions in a vacuum, but we're probably not making the best decisions. Whenever we get this sort of level of input, and we get feedback, and we can process all that information, that's what's going to help us make better decisions for the young people in this district as we move forward. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to turn it back over to Carla.
Thank you, Pat. We're going to invest a little time in making sure that everyone understands what we're talking about, what's on the table as the district's proposal, before we ask a lot of questions. And so at this time, we're going to ask Superintendent Bonnie Cain to come up and talk about the orange and green sheets that you got when you came in. She'll give you a little background information and lay out those 2 proposals. And then we'll have a chance to ask some questions about that.
Thank you. And I will be speaking from a script. The board wanted to make certain that we use scripts in these presentations, so if you come to this meeting, or the next meeting, or the one in Spanish, or the ones around on campuses, everyone will be hearing the same thing. And we thought that would be very important. And I want to know. As Mr. Atkins said, we did not set out to close schools. We set out to balance a budget that we were handed that is very dreadful. A lengthy 82nd state legislative session lasting into the last summer created a chain reaction resulting in school districts not getting working budget numbers in a timely manner. In August, the WISD Board of Trustees adopted a 2011-12 budget that spent $2.9 million from the reserve. WISD budget numbers for this next school year require $3.4 to $3.5 million in budget cuts and cost avoidance measures above what has already been cut over the past few years. $3.4 million will offset the loss of the federal education jobs bill for the second year of our biennium. It makes up for the loss of state funding, and it will provide a balanced budget. Even before the adjournment of the last legislative session, lawmakers told us that when they meet next in 2013, they face another massive revenue shortfall. This will cause even more public education budget reductions. WISD must deal with next year's reduced funding and prepare for those future cuts. In addition to direct budget cuts, legislators did little to equalize WISD's footing with surrounding school districts. Texas legislators did not address the inadequate or the inequitable school funding system they designed a few years ago. There are 1,034 public school districts in Texas. If you think of them lined up as a train, financially, Waco ISD is the front car of the last half of the train when it comes to the insolvency of all public school districts in Texas. There are a lot of school districts that are headed for bankruptcy because we've had such an excellent chief financial officer and a board that's been very diligent about watching our monies. We are the front car of the last half of the train. So other districts are going to face the train wreck before we do. But without legislative action, the public school financial picture will continue to decline, necessitating difficult reductions in staffing and in our instructional programming. We get funded on ADA, average daily attendance, counting the days a student is physically present in a school. School districts must have accurate enrollment and attendance data. Attendance matters. Waco ISD's enrollment is 15,304 students. So what is WADA? WADA is weighted average daily attendance. WADA is a mathematical calculation applied to ADA. Program weights are added to ADA to account for the increased cost of educating students who need bilingual, GT, or other special programming. So even though we have 15,304 students, we are funded as if we have 18,290, because if you're in the gifted program, you're not weighted at 1.2. If you are in bilingual, you may be weighted at 1.3. If you are dyslexic and bilingual, you may be weighted at 2.3. So when they fund us, they don't fund us on 15,304, they fund us on 18,290. You can compare that to a family with 2 children. Both the children need to be fed, but the 18-year-old, because of her size and her nutritional needs, requires a higher proportion of the family grocery budget. The result is, even though she is only one person, her portion of the grocery bill weighs more than that of the 10-year-old. A student with special needs or special circumstances gets more weight than one without special needs or circumstances. This was a good thing for the state to do, because what they're trying to say is, if this district of 10,000 has students with no needs, no special needs, this district has students with lots of special needs, they should get more money. So the intention was honored. WADA is the state's good intention for equalizing funding by weighting the student. Target revenue is the amount of dollars the state targets each student WADA point. Okay? That is what is disproportionate. If the target revenue amounts were equal per WADA across the state, school funding would be equitable. Since funding is not equal, by living in Texas, the richness of a child's educational funding is dictated by where that child lives. Let me be more specific. Waco ISD students per WADA gets $5,090. Now, if that student lives in China Spring, that student receives $5,211. Hillsborough, 5,301. McGregor, 5,408. La Vega, 5,450. Robinson, 5,465. And Midway gets 5,926. And that looks different. I mean, $800 is a lot of difference just on that page, but multiply it out by the number of students we have, and that's where the problem is. The additional amount of money Waco ISD would receive if they were funded at the same level as surrounding districts are currently funded. China Springs students, if this same student lived in China Springs, he gets $121 more WADA. So, but the difference in our sizes is if our students got the same target revenue as the students in China Springs, Waco ISD would get $2,213,695 in additional funding. That's why when I talk about an inequitable and an unequal school funding, that's what we're talking about. Let me just skip on down to Midway. And I don't want them to take money away from any of these districts. I want all the districts brought up to that level of funding. But if Waco ISD received the same funding per student that Midway receives, we would get an additional $15,294,620 in funding. Now, there is no rhyme or reason when that was decided by the legislature that, oh, we will make Midway have that much more money. It's a longer story how they got to that formula, but that is the unequal system. If a student lives in Waco ISD, they get $5,090 per student. If you live in Midway, you get $836 more. Same student. In the morning, they could be enrolled in Waco ISD. They move to Midway. They're worth $836 more that afternoon. And that extra money that would have gone to Waco in the morning now goes with that student in Midway. If the kid decides the next day to move to Waco, he doesn't bring that money with him. That money's not sent to Midway, it's just kept by the state. Because the student's not worth, I have to use that word. The student is the value of the money. The money that's applied to the student isn't the same. That is what we were fighting. Because that means most districts get more money to spend for kids. How can we compete for teachers when they can spend so much money on raises? How can we look at much more money per classroom? $836 times 22 kids in an elementary classroom is how much money that they have more to spend on a classroom just on virtue of where they live. At one time, I guess I'll get back to the script. At one time, that if the free-throw lake plant moved into Waco ISD, everybody would cheer and say, yay, we have a free-throw plant, because we are going to get more money. And back in the day, in that funding formula, we would have. Well, now, if the free-throw lake plant moves here, the funding is equalized. As property values go up, which include the free-throw lake plant, the money the state sends to WISD decreases. As property values go down, money the state sends to Waco ISD increases. The more WISD tax revenue is raised, the less money the state sends to Waco ISD. So at the end of the year, if our property values brought in more than $5,090 per student, we send money to the state. Or money is just not sent to us. If we do not receive that kind of money, then the state will send us money to make up for $5,090 per student times the number of students we have. So, how can the school district generate additional funding? Well, more students generate more funds. Now, for the foreseeable future, the WISD student population is projected to remain relatively stable or slightly decline. And here's a chart of our enrollment since 1993. And there's that peak in 96, 97 that got us to 16,170 students. It looks like that's the peak. And then it's leveled off, but the lowest number there is 14,733, and we're now at 15,305. So we can't count on a lot of students moving in, bringing in more money. Are there other ways to generate funding? Well, Waco ISD property values generate more local funds if property valuations increase, but historically, WISD's property values only slightly increase. However, the state will not allow the WISD board to raise the current rate of taxes without a successful tax ratification election from voters. At one time, the board had the authority to raise taxes on their own to a certain level. Now, when they get to a point, they have to go to the community and ask to raise taxes. So, if we did a tax ratification election, our current tax rate is $1.36 plus, and that is our rollback tax rate. A tax rollback election would provide Waco ISD an additional $461,948 per student if it passes. But this is not exactly the economic climate that welcomes people volunteering to tax themselves at a higher rate. But if we were to have a TRE, it must be conducted 30 to 90 days after the date the tax rate is adopted. And if it did pass, the cost for a $75,000 home would be $84 per year or $7 more per month. And again, I'm certain what we would be promoting if we were to decide to do that. So when we look at Waco ISD, we look at, do we have more schools than what we need or not? What is the industry standard? So we pulled similar districts: Wichita Falls, San Angelo, Eagle Pass, Hardendale, Donna, Crowley, Hayes Consolidated, Northwest ISD, Bryan, Mission, Eagle, Mount Saginaw, Abilene, Connell, Alvin, Westlaco, Harlingen, Tyler, and Allen ISD. And we averaged them. And the average number of campuses they have is 23.3. Our average is 30. So, the question is, how do we want to divide our money? As Mr. Atkins said, basically our money's in three piles. It's in staffing, it's in facilities, or it's in instructional programming. And each pie chart shows the variations for dividing out that money. Okay, we're on the next one. So what if we did close schools? What does that mean? This slide shows the anticipated savings for school closure by types. The primary advantage of larger enrollment campuses is financial savings, but other advantages include increased educator collaboration, more varied curriculum offerings, the ability to provide better and fuller services, more flexibility for such specialized programs as gifted and talented, AP, special education. Certainly the disadvantages include the loss of a community school, somewhat longer bus rides, and the initial disruption of changing schools and redrawing district attendance lines. When you close a school, you don't actually save money, it's more cost avoidance. The estimates are, and the reason you can get this number is you know how much money, because it's already revenue, you're going to get per child, and about what a principal costs, about what a secretary costs. You're going to have some base staff to still in school. So an elementary school, if an elementary school closes, we avoid $450,000 in costs per year from now on. It's not a one-year thing. Every year that school's not open, the district does not spend $450,000. Middle school is $500 to $650. High school is $650 to $750. Thank you. So, what did we do to prepare for this funding crisis? This slide shows how the board anticipated these funding issues by building larger campuses in the last bond issue. If these plans had not been made, much of this consolidation could not have been done, meaning that necessary budget cuts would have come from staffing and our instructional program, and we wouldn't have had options. So, for instance, Bells Hill held 638, the new Bells Hill holds 820. Dean Highland was 506, now it's 836. J.H. Hines held 440, it now holds 752, and University High 1475 to 1900. So, where are we in comparison to other districts? This slide shows that our student population, now sometimes we see different student numbers, we have to use different data sources in time. This is actually the AEIS report, and at that time we had 5,240 students. But compared to the state, Waco ISD has 31.4% African Americans, compared to 12.9% for the state. Our Hispanic population is 55.3%. The state's average is 50.3%. The white population is 11.2%. The state's white population is 31.2%. Native American is 0.4%, state's 0.5%. And Asian Pacific Islander is 0.3%, and the state's average is 3.5%. We have 86.7% of our students are economically disadvantaged. And those are the most fragile students we have, those who do not have the resources at home. So we need to make up for those resources. The average for the state for economic disadvantage is 59.2%. And the limited English proficient students in Waco is 16.9%, which is the exact state average. So what does our staff look like? The professional staff is about the same as the state at 64%. Our teachers, basically 50% of our staff is teachers. Professional support, 10%. campus administration. We look at these numbers to make certain that we are in balance with the state. The average year's experience of our teachers is 11.5 as opposed to the state is 11.4. We use that to make certain we don't have a higher rate of teachers leaving, and we need to look into that. And our average years of teachers experience with the district is 7.9, which is slightly higher than the state's. So we look at other expenditures too. A lot of times it's easy to say, well, what if they quit spending so much money in what area? They spend too much in fine arts. They spend too much in athletics. And if we stand alone, isolated, okay, if I said we spent $3.2 million for something, well, you don't know if that's a lot or not a lot until you know what other people spend in that area. So the one I circled here is athletics, because athletics seems to be kind of a key. The state, for all funds, spends 2.4% of its budget for athletics, and Waco ISD spends 2.7%. So we're slightly higher. That's certainly something we need to look at, but it's not a place for great savings. And the next one, because the next target is usually central administration. The central administration, Waco ISD, all funds, is 2.3%. For the state, all funds, is 3.1%. So that lets us know that that's not an area that we could save a lot of money. There are two consolidation options for which the board wants your input. The first is the orange option. The orange option begins with the recommendation to transition all 5th graders to elementary schools and all 6th through 8th graders to middle school campuses and repurpose Lake Air Intermediate. The benefits of having at least 3 grades per campus are well documented in the literature, especially at the middle school age and for at-risk student populations. This plan would simplify many aspects of administration by having a single set of grade groups at all schools and allows the Lake Air Intermediate to be repurposed for an annual savings of approximately $600,000. Consolidate Alta Vista Montessori and Lake Waco Montessori programs into a single Montessori program on the Lake Air campus. The Alta Vista Montessori building is facing major structural issues, and both elementary Montessori programs lack the science lab space necessary for the older students attending those campuses. The Lake Air Intermediate campus could be retrofitted to the science lab facilities and provide a single, cohesive campus for the Montessori programs. Our staff development department averages approximately $30,000 per year in Montessori training costs. The only other cost besides training is the cost of Montessori materials for the classroom, and those material costs are to set up a classroom initially. Maintaining materials is done through campus budgets. This year, staff development budgeted $54,000 from local funds for Montessori training costs, as there were many teachers not trained. These training costs recur annually with varying amounts, depending on how much turnover occurs on those 2 campuses. Combining the campuses into one will further reduce costs and overhead. Close Silver Ross Elementary and consolidate those students into the new Bells Hill Elementary and into West Avenue. Silver Ross Elementary was built in 1952 and has all of the challenges associated with the 60-year-old building, including expensive maintenance and attempts to retrofit technology upgrades. Compliance with ADA codes will require the installation of not 1, but 2 elevators since the existing buildings are detached. The surrounding land uses around Silver Ross Elementary are in transition as Baylor University seeks to link the main campus with the city's urban core. This transition, coupled with the planned widening of Interstate 35, suggests that the current commercial value of Silver Ross parcel is increasing, and the district could likely sell this parcel for future commercial development. Close North Waco Elementary and consolidate those students into Providence Heights, Dean Highland, and Cedar Ridge Elementary Schools. North Waco is the oldest of 6 campuses located within a tight geographic cluster. The student density in this area is not enough to optimally support 6 campuses, so each campus is currently underutilized. By closing North Waco, these students could be redistributed to nearby campuses, and each would be more fully and efficiently utilized. Combine the Viking Hills zone and Mountain View zones into one attendance zone, changing Viking Hills into a pre-K, K1 IB-PYP program that feeds into a reconfigured Mountain View 2nd to 5th grade school. To be clear, the Viking Hills would have to be subsumed into Mountain View in order to be accepted by IB International into a Mountain View IB program. While Viking Hills is one of the smallest IB elementary campuses, we still need, while Viking Hills is one of the smallest WISD elementary campuses, we still need its seats to ensure adequate enrollment space for students in the district, as well as students returning from neighboring school districts and from private and charter schools. Combining the Viking Hills and Mountain View attendance zones would enable us to enlarge the attendance zone for the IB program, making it more of an academic attractor. These schools would operate jointly, sharing one principal and 4 staff, further reducing costs. While ideally each campus should have at least 3 grade levels to optimize parental involvement and to decrease the number of transitions for students, Viking Hills is not large enough to accommodate 3 grades. Fortunately, parental involvement isn't lacking in that portion of WISD, and the detriment of multiple school transitions is focused largely on at-risk students. We are still working with IB International to iron out details should this option be accepted by the board, but this is very doable, and if the community is willing to think outside the single school building concept. Make Carver a neighborhood middle school campus with a larger attendance zone. Financially, WISD can no longer provide transportation to campuses of choice. We must rezone all students and inform parents that students attending magnet schools, Hillcrest, the Montessori School, and the possible middle-level advanced academic development school within a school, must provide their own transportation. Establishing an attendance zone for Carver Middle School will make it a better-used middle school, as currently it is being utilized at only 50% of its 925 student capacity. As the entire consolidation program is an outgrowth of inadequate state funding, part of this plan begins with rezoning, then clarifying that zone students will attend students in their attendance zone except in cases of extreme documented need, and even then the parent must provide transportation. As all WISD schools become schools of quality, transfer requests will not be as much of an issue as they have been. The Montessori program, Hillcrest PDS, and the school within a school middle-level magnet remain schools of choice. It is likely that Carver can have a school within a school magnet program, but we have not worked out all the details on that. Consolidate the alternative school campus and the STARS program at the former Doris Miller building. This is an economical utilization of Doris Miller while offering opportunity to integrate staff and again share resources such as nursing, maintenance, and other support staff. This would also offer more opportunities for high school electives at that single campus. Close A.J. Moore and move the 7 academies to University High School and the JROTC program to Waco High School. Waco ISD's capacity for high school students is great, as our high school students are on 3 different campuses. Each campus is underutilized. Placing A.J. Moore at University High School better distributes the capacity burden and does not overload any one campus. Okay. This map, although this isn't the exact attendance zone because that's not been decided, this map shows the elementary zones associated with the orange option. You can see that Viking Hills is combined with Mountain View, and that North Waco has been taken in and sold off. The next slide shows the middle school zones associated with the orange option. And that would be without Lake Air. And Carver being a zoned school. So to summarize the orange option, currently the district is at 72% utilization. Now keep in mind, at 85% is a break-even point. When the campus is at 85% utilization, that's a break-even point for the district. Anything less than 85% occupancy, we lose money every day, and that money must be taken from instructional programming and staffing. So the district itself is at 72% utilization. If we take the orange option as it stands, the elementary schools would be at 92% utilization, the middle school at 84%, and the high school, even closing A.J. Moore and putting in with university, would be at only a 74% utilization. So, but altogether, it would be an average, district average of 85%, with the elementaries kind of taking, sharing the lion's share, taking the lion's share of the burden. And that's the orange option. The green option. Again, transition all fifth graders to elementary school and all sixth graders to the middle school campus and repurpose Lake Air. And close Viking Hills and consolidate those students at Parkdale and Mountain View. Close Sul Ross and consolidate those students in Bells Hill and West Avenue. Close North Waco Elementary and consolidate those students in Providence Heights, Dean Highland, and Cedar Ridge. Again, that's the same. Same thing for Carver. It would be a neighborhood attendance school zone. Consolidate the alternative campus in Stars and former Doris Miller. Close A.J. Moore Building and move all campus academies to University High and the JROTC program to Waco High. Relocate Lake Waco Montessori and all Montessori students to Lake Air. That would make Alta Vista a neighborhood attendance zone school. In the previous one, Alta Vista was closed. In this one, Alta Vista remains an attendance zone school. It would not be Montessori anymore, but it would be a neighborhood school. And we would close Meadowbrook and consolidate most of those students into Alta Vista. That's the green option. And there's the green option elementary. See, the one down here, that U is kind of, Kendrick is in the middle of Alta Vista was on one side of Kendrick and Meadowbrook was on the other, and that makes that unique attendance pattern. And Viking Hills is closed, so Mountain View's kind of shifted a little bit. So the middle school option, the middle school schools look like this. It's the same. And so a summary of the green option is that, again, the district is currently at 72% utilization. With the green option, the elementary would be at 93% utilization, middle school at an 84% utilization, the high school at 74% utilization, and the green option would give us about 1% more at 86%. So the bottom line for this presentation is that our vision is for Waco ISD to be the district of choice for generations of families. Our mission is for Waco ISD to be perceived as having a safe learning environment and to be recognized for its high academic achievement. So our goal is for you and the other people in the community to support efficient and effective utilization of WISD's limited resources by helping us make tough but necessary decisions. And this is just a reminder of the town hall meetings. These town hall meetings are scheduled to get community input regarding this matter. We thank you for your attention to this presentation, and we will be answering questions, but I don't want to speak right now.
Thank you, Dr. King. She's certainly given us a lot of information, a lot of things to think about. What we would like to do now is to spend the next 45 minutes asking questions about the proposals that Superintendent Cain has just kind of laid out for all of us. And I would like to make a couple of requests as we do that. First, we want to be respectful of everyone in the room. We want to try to hear from as many people as we can. And so we're going to ask you, if you have a question, come down to the microphone. Some folks from the league are going to work with you. Because we're putting things on the web and other places, we want to make sure we get your name correct. And so they'll take your name. We're going to take notes on what you say so that the district has that feedback. We're going to ask you to come up when you finish asking your question and take a look at what the scribes have written down to make sure that we have accurately characterized your comments and your questions. In order to try to keep things moving, we'd like to ask you to limit your question to about 3 minutes. And we're going to ask the folks from the district to limit their answers as well, so that we can get through as many of these questions as we possibly can. Once you've asked a question, we'd like to ask you to give other people the opportunity to ask before you come back up. And if we start to run out of folks, then certainly please feel free to come up. But we want to hear a wide variety of viewpoints. And the last thing that I would say is, when this country was founded, there were people who gave their lives for the right for everyone to participate. And we would like to ask everyone to honor that sacrifice by engaging in civil discourse this evening, by really listening and hearing one another. This is a passionate issue. I want you to be passionate, but I also want us to all be respectful to everyone in the room and honor really what it means to be a great participant in this process. So, with that said, if you'll work with the folks from the league and kind of monitor your time, we'll spend about 45 minutes asking and answering questions on the proposal. We'll take a short break, and then we'll come back and hear about great ideas that you might have. Okay? All right, so I have Lisa and Claire there, and we have our very first question. And if I can ask you, and they may have said this to you, tell us who you are, and if you have students in any of the schools or if you're affiliated, just so we have a sense of who you are.
Yes, my name is LaTanya Henderson, and I have several children in the Waco ISD area. I have a high schooler at A.J. Moore Academy, and a middle schooler at University Middle School, and 2 children at Cambridge Elementary. And my question is for the board is, have you not looked at the different, for instance, like the bond guarantee program to help us with that? With the funding, or with the emergency commissioner of education rules, so that we can get the funding that we need. And if it's an issue of the children utilizing these schools, then why are we not trying to recruit the children to stay here? Because I noticed there's only 11% of Caucasian children here, and the rest of them are minority children. To me, it seems like that we should try to get those children back into this district, because speaking with other parents that I work with or I go to church with or whatnot, these children are not in our school district, they're attending other school districts. Is there any way, have you tried to get these children back in our school district to get the money that we need? Because it seems unfair to me, and I'm speaking for most of the parents whose children attend some of the other schools, unfair that their school has to be closed, because these children who do live in Waco are attending other schools.
You all here? Is everything good? So the 2 questions are alternative funding programs and recruiting more students.
One thing about having Cheryl Davis as the Chief Financial Officer is she does explore all of those, and I will make certain that, I feel certain she's looked into all of them. But even if the board takes the green option, the 86%, that still would just be a cost avoidance of $2.75 million. So even in the worst case scenario, we still are going to have to cut. But we will explore all funding options possible.
Does that include looking at each school district and finding out how much money that they're spending at each campus as well? To cut some of the funding instead of closing the schools?
Well, we had, last year, actually, Ms. Davis cut each campus by 10%.
Because I think if I go to University High School and I see a brand new plasma TV, that's unfair that if I go to A.J. Moore and I can't find one, my daughter doesn't use it.
Well, that's always a problem when you have new facilities, because you want to build a new facility. You don't want to build one that looks like an old facility. You want to build the new facilities and work to bring up the older facilities. So there's always that little disconnect that happens, but there is a sense of unfairness about that. But yes, we do recruit. It's kind of a circular argument. If we can get the money to put in instructional programming to make it better, I think we're going to attract a lot of people back into the district. But we can't do that until we have the kind of money to put in the program. So it's kind of a chicken and egg argument. But yes, that is a goal, and yes, that would work. And I've got the red card, sorry.
More folks coming in, that's great. Thank you very much. Sir?
Hi, my name is Joe Carvajal, Senior Pastor of Mighty Worship Center and Concerned Community Unit. I want to ask a question about the Orange Plan. As I read it presented here, it says combine the current Valley Hill Elementary and Mountain View attendance zones to provide K through 2 through 5. My concern is if it's an elementary attendance zone, will this pre-K program be available for all the children of the district or just in this area?
In this point, can you put the orange elementary zone back up there on the screen? What this will do is that will be a zoned area as Florida was Viking Hills, what was Viking Hills and what was Mountain View, making that one attendance zone. Did that answer your question?
Well, that tells me that the only kids that are going to be eligible for that pre-K program is those that are in the attendance zone.
And any transfer, any room that they would leave for transfers, is that what you're saying? Is that would probably be some more wiggle room in that building. And now every plan we have is flawed. And you were pointing at one of the flaws of that plan.
We are going to provide, 2 years ago, this board decided that we could no longer afford the pre-K program in WISD.
Okay.
And now we're paying
I
back the
see.
same.
Okay.
So let's either open it up to everybody or not.
I just did not answer your question. Okay, I wouldn't focus on your pre-K part of the question. I was focused on we would offer pre-K at Viking Hills to the same degree we offer pre-K now at the other campuses. Instead of having an all-day pre-K program, we have a part-time pre-K program in parts, an aide, and the other half is a teacher of the day. We would be doing that to the same degree that we do that in other campuses for those students who qualify.
Pre-K is offered presently
Yes.
in all campuses.
Yes, for those students who, well, I don't know if it's every campus, but if it's not dedicated within your child, you go to this campus. Thank you.
Hey there. I'm Ashley Thornton, concerned citizen, and just one other slight connection is my husband used to teach at A.J. Moore, and so I've been kind of following along with David, and of course, I understand how outstanding of a program that is and all that kind of thing. So the just clarification question I have is, as those programs are being moved to a different building, how will some of the things that make those programs so effective, like the administration of them and the way the teachers know the students in those programs, how will those be maintained in that new setting?
Thank you for asking that question. Great question. A.J. Moore is unique because of all the things that make it A.J. Moore. It is the academy setting. And Waco is actually unique in that it's a standalone academy. The vast majority are already school academies within a high school. We're probably one of the few that have to go back because of funding. So the models are there that it works and how it works. What we would do is, or what I'm going to recommend to the board is, as average would be that Mrs. Ryder would be, of course you can only have one principal at school, but she would be the principal, or we'll think of the name, of the academies, because the board is committed, and that is a concern that they have expressed to me over and over and over and over, is keeping that A.J. Moore as A.J. Moore and the academy concept, that it doesn't just bleed into and fade into university. Now, the UAF, United Academy Federation, has very strict guidelines that will help us stay in line and that not happen. You have to have this, you have to have that. The advantages are that the A.J. Moore kids can now be able to take some classes that they couldn't before, and some university high kids who loved to be in an academy or two but didn't want to go to A.J. Moore. That is the plus. The negative is, who wouldn't want to go to high school? I mean, it was a perfect, and as long as we could have afforded it, it was wonderful. So the fact that they had that as unique was awesome. And the only reason it's going away is because of funding. It's not because anybody thinks it's not a good program. So we would protect that integrity of that program and have someone over that program under the umbrella of University High, which there's been discussion about the name change also, but right now it's University High, that would be a person there so it would not be academies and still be at that standard that keeps earning us those national awards and that national recognition.
Great, thank you very much. Sir.
My name is Thomas Eli. I'm a 2011 graduate of A.J. Moore. As I saw on the orange option and the green option, that and both the options that they're both getting, A.J. Moore's getting closed. And as I'm concerned is that they're separating A.J. Moore to the university in Waco High. The Chinese can go to Waco High and the academy can go to A.J. Moore.
No, the only thing that's going to go to Waco High is the ROTC program, because they're already from university, so we want to keep it. There's not one, but all 7 academies would go to university.
But in that case, wouldn't you need more funding for the more students that are going into the academies? And
our magnet schools can control by numbers. You know, we may have a waiting list. I mean, I know we have a Montessori school, and if you can't get in, you just have to be on the waiting list, and there's a lottery and those kinds of things. So AJ Moore would be the same thing. We would decide how many students would be university students, how many would be AJ Moore students, and then select from that.
Hi, Dr. Cain. My name is Jamie Ewens. We live on Eldridge, and I'm a concerned parent. We're actually zoned for Viking Hills. Our children are ages 9, 7, and 3 years old. Our 2 oldest children attend Mountain View. We love it. We got in when our oldest was starting kindergarten. And I'm very concerned about the option of, I guess it's the orange option, of splitting Mountain View into 2 campuses for a few reasons. The first one being, or I guess the question I have is, with these campuses splitting, are we going to have to share our principal and assistant principals, special teachers? Will they be over at the current campus, Mountain View, and then going over for pre-K and 1 at the other campus during the day, the same day? Will we be sharing them?
Right, it would be shared. I don't know if every day they would be, let's say.
And is that because it's cost effective to do that? Keep one principal between the 2 schools?
For example, we can have the principal at Mountain View House there and the assistant principal at the Viking Hills campus. Or we can have the principal and assistant principal on the Mountain View campus and have an instructional specialist. I have been the principal of a pre-K, K1 school. It's a wonderful job. I'm not saying there's not problems, but you don't have the problems that you have with the other campuses. So it doesn't require the kind of close monitoring. The older the kids are, the more monitoring and supervision we need. So we would make certain that we have that right level of supervision.
I guess I'm just concerned. I taught for 7 years too, 1st and 3rd grade, and I'm just concerned because I feel like teachers are overworked as it is, and the stress of having to go between 2 campuses when if they were directly across the street from each other, I think Robinson does that. That might be one thing, but having to go between campuses, parents between campuses, that being very stressful on the children, the teachers, the administrators. It concerns me greatly. The other thing too about where we live, before we moved on Eldridge, we were on Live Oak Valley Circle, also zoned for Viking Hills. Our experience being in that neighborhood now for 10 years is that our friends with children, school-age children, are choosing to have their children go to Mountain View, to Hillcrest, to Lake Waco. They are not attending Viking Hills. They're also choosing private school. So I just feel like, as a parent, that if we decided to close Viking Hills, we would love to have them come over to Mountain View. I wouldn't even be opposed to closing Mountain View and moving them all over to Viking Hills, but keeping the school as one group.
Well, one, all the concerns you have are our concerns. I mean, these are not plans without warts. So everything you have is concerned. One, of course, the parent going back and forth would be daily. But like in the case of the art teacher versus the music teacher, instead of doing a half-day music here and a half-day music there, we would say Thursday is music day at Viking Hills and Friday's art day. And so they would be traveling. There's ways to minimize that, but not to totally eliminate it.
Can I ask another question too?
Sorry, let's just, we've got such a line. Yeah, so let's go ahead and come back there. You have another opportunity. All right. Now, you're with one of the cutest members of the audience.
Yeah. Me? Thank you. My name is Autumn Braxton, and I'm from AJ Moore Academy. And I was just wondering what happened to the option of maybe moving Carver into AJ Moore.
Actually, that was, as Mr. Atkins talked about, I think it was Plan A. But there were a lot of parents and a lot of people expressed concern about having 6th, 7th, 8th grade students with 9, 10, 11, 12 students.
Have they gotten a chance to maybe get to know what AJ Moore is as a whole?
Well, I don't think there was no, it's those AJ Moore kids. Okay, it had nothing to do with the AJ Moore kids. It had to do with 9, 10, 11, and 12th graders being with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I think there was such a feeling from parents that would not work, that the board asked me to bring a new plan. Sir? These are our AJ Moore graduates.
Hi, my name is James. I graduated from AJ Moore. I'm also representing AJMoore.com. At a previous meeting, I mentioned how AJ Moore is the only one of 3 main high schools considered state acceptable when it comes to testing. A response I got from a couple of members was that they personally don't believe in standardized testing, and that's a respectable belief. But that still doesn't change the fact that AJ Moore graduation rates are beating the other 2 schools by nearly 20%. And that number would be larger if I actually averaged those 2 other schools. AJ Moore has a team of staff that strongly convinces the student population the necessity of a high school diploma and how much you can strive with a college education. The career academies are like no other in the school district, and I thank you for keeping them together. But it's the people that make it such a success. That's why I hope that when you say the term school within a school, you really mean a separate school in the same building as another. The students at AJ Moore need the exact same teachers and administration overseeing their education to hold on to the same atmosphere and success we see today there. The teachers know how to integrate normal classes with the career academy classes. The counselors say you're going to college whether you like it or not, and the principals are the only ones with the charisma and personal experience that can hold this amazing formula together. So people have asked elaboration on the school within a school. I understand it was previous time. You can't really didn't have the details, but would you be able to give more now?
I think that with the National Academy standards, they are very strict. And you are right. One of the keys that make an academy is if you're an academy and it's time for you to take English, you don't just go to an English teacher. You go to an academy trained English teacher. That's what makes AJ Moore, and that's why it gets the national recognition. And so just by nature, by virtue of that rule that you have to have that, there we would not be able to say, okay, you can take English to 2 halls over because yours is full. I mean, if we maintain the integrity of the program, which we are committed to doing, we are not allowed to do that. Now, we are allowed to have other kids come in, or if the AJ Moore students now have more electives, which does not invalidate the academy standard. Your electives don't have to have that. So the confidence that I'm having in that is that by being under those standards and the rules to maintain National Academy standards, our identity, we have to do that. Now, I hate saying this, it makes it sound like I'm doing this. We're doing this because we have to, like I said. But so that will force us to do that.
So we're talking about keeping all the staff.
Well, we can't force them to stay if they want to go. But Mrs. Ryder will still be the one hiring for the academy.
Yes, sir.
So, my name is Brian Seymour. I'm a PE instructional aide at North Waco Elementary. I have 2 questions. First question is, our North Waco campus, a lot of our parents are, this is a neighborhood campus. A lot of our parents don't have vehicles. They walk their kids to school, they come to lunch every day. How do you plan on keeping that involvement with the parents and still busing these students to other campuses where parents can't necessarily walk to see their kids or, go to a meeting or whatever?
I think we're going to have to be more creative, and not just in the North Waco situation. This is a creative step that we're taking throughout the district. That is something that Waco ISD can do better, period. We have some other campuses now that when you look at their boundaries, they're further away from the school just by the nature of where they are, as opposed to smaller ones like Brazos. Okay? So we've had that problem before, and we just need to be better at making certain that all of our parents get involved, come to the school, and that we meet those needs. We did that at J times this year. We had not had a certain level of parent involvement. A parent came in actually, and didn't know how she could help, and all of a sudden we got a bank of parents calling other parents saying, can we come meet you? We're going to be doing those things better at all campuses.
And I just have one more question. The 2 elementary schools that you have proposed to closing down are both PBS schools. Saw Ross and North Waco are partnered with Baylor University as PBS schools. Are those plans, are we going to keep those PBS options in our district?
Stella Ross may have some spillover PDS, but we just have 4 PDS schools. But we do have some spillover, so I understand why you think there are some there. So, but North Waco definitely is, and yes, we have already talked to Baylor because we are very interested in keeping a PDS school. And we're already talking about other options and working with Baylor to make certain that they're pleased and we are meeting the needs of our students and our staff. And we value that identification with that program very much. So I'm glad you're proud of it too.
I'm Meredith Sutton, and I'm a Mountain View mom of 2 boys, and 2 boys will be going through sooner than later. And thank you, school board members. I do not envy y'all at all. You have an incredibly tough decision to make. So, is the sister school concept going to get the district closer to meeting the upcoming budget cuts? And how are we going to fill those seats that can't be cut now, if we can do the Mountain View Viking Hills combination K1 sister school thing? Okay, yeah. Is the sister school concept, okay, so K1 preschool, is the sister school concept, how is that going to get the district closer to the upcoming budget cuts? And further, I think Viking Hills has about 100 empty seats right now. If you combine our 2 schools right now, we still have those 100 empty seats.
Well, let me answer your first question, because I just thought of the answer to your second one. The first question was, how does this help? One, it doesn't help as much as close. Obviously, the Viking Hill option in the closing Viking Hills saves more money than the one where we just combine it with Mountain View. I mean, so obviously, the more attractive one, if you are just looking at money, is to shut down Viking Hills. Okay, the board was looking at as many different options as possible, and having because there's a lot of opinion that we, just like that lady who spoke about what are the attractive academic programs, it was capitalizing on it and saying, okay, let's balance out savings with maybe having this more attractive academic program. That's the thought behind it.
So, secondly, this concept divides our principal, which would be a touch of savings. Is this a sound educational practice? And is this savings of money something that needs to be applied across the district if it's such a feasible option?
Well, it's not as feasible as some people as it is to others. It does not save us much money. It is not ideal. It was an effort, as I said, to the IB program is very expensive, okay? But to expand it, it's not. This was an opportunity to expand an IB program and open up some more spots for transfer students perhaps to come in. Of course, rezoning would be next, and so I don't know what that's going to look like, so I don't want to get much into that. So when you say there are empty seats, there may not be, because if that attendance zone shrinks, because that campus here has more space, then that's the next issue.
Very last thing. We have a great PTA.
Huge line behind you. Yeah, come back forward, right on the card.
My name is Katie Ray, student of A.J. Moore, class of 2012. My concern is that why would y'all want to put A.J. Moore University when university has, like, they always fight? They always fight? I think that would be, like, a bad idea to do it, in my opinion.
Well, we do monitor the statistics of the discipline for all campuses, and we deal with that as it happens. We do not think we have a bad high school. We got 3 high schools, and we don't think we have a bad one. I think sometimes people hear rumors of fighting and things like that, and I'm not saying there hasn't been a fight in high schools this year, but we will make certain that all of our students have a quality high school education, wherever they are.
And the other question is that I don't think y'all should break A.J. Moore, because in my opinion, I've been there for like 4 months and it made me not want to drop out and I've had no credits to get, and it makes me want to stay in school.
You stay there, okay? You stay in school.
Hello, good evening. I'm George Sue. Hi, Bonnie. The rest of you school board members. I've seen a lot of you. But anyway, I have a 4-year-old who will be going to school next year, kindergarten. And I also have a 14-year-old who went through Viking Hills Elementary and then Carver Academy and is now out of Waco ISD. But my question has to do with Viking Hills. The school has a history of 15 years of being recognized and exemplary. people come from outside of our zone because there's not that many children that are attending that school. So we're taking kids from all over Waco ISD, they're coming there. They're all achieving above standards. At one of your meetings, you guys had one of these, and I'm not hip on all the lingo, but low socioeconomic status indicators. Viking Hills kids. Those kids are at the top 3 in these different categories. And I hear that Viking Hills is either going to be closed or kind of trimmed down to this. What I'm trying to figure out is what is the benefit to Waco ISD when closing down one of their great schools that has this long track record?
That is probably the most, it is a difficult struggle to look at a successful school, and that's really the argument with AJ Moore too, and you've heard a couple people allude to that. And it's a tough decision, but if the schools who aren't performing were all in one area that were in the older schools, it would be easy to do, but coincidentally, Viking Hills has 203 kids in it. It is a very expensive, and we have other campuses who say, well, just give me 203 students and I'll be exemplary too.
I do know that during the past several years, almost every year, comment has come up that they're going to close Viking Hills Elementary. And so I'm not sure if it's a fair statement that the enrollment is down because people don't want to go to the school, because I think it's due to the fact that the rumors keep coming up and they keep reading it in the paper that we're going to close this school. Who is going to send their child to a school for a year and then have to shift them? And that's also a concern with the pre-K, K, first grade, is would you send your kid to a school to move them in 3 years? You would hope to Mountain View, but maybe not. So.
Well, it would be, but I just got the 30-second flash here. But, the rumors. But you're right, that has been said many years, because when the school board member is asked, why do you have such a, they have to be honest and say, well, we've thought about closing it because it is the most costly elementary we have, just because of size. Dr. Davis.
I'm Micah Davis. I'm a class of 87 graduate of this particular school and a product of a previous consolidation. And therefore, I have about a 25-year history of being against school closure. Having said that, my question is, what specific instructional programs now does the district have that curbs bright flight, as you spoke of in your Waco article? And specifically, once all of this hashes out, what specific new programs would you recommend to the district purchasing that will curb this bright flight program?
Actually, we have not had a strong advanced academics program. It's my understanding that 5 or 6 years ago, we had a really, really good advanced academics director. And that was before the bright flight, and we had a strong academic, there was a perception that there was rigor in the curriculum, and people wanted their kids here. Well, for whatever reason, we did that program, that person left, and that program has deteriorated. When people like you feel like your child is not getting the education they deserve, you try to do what you can within the system, but if you feel like you're beating your head against the wall and there are other options, that's when bright flight happens. The board made a commitment last summer to hire one of the absolute best advanced academics people who is closely tied to Baylor to work in our district, to put that advanced academics program back together, and we are doing that. Now, have we had bumps and have we had to back up and go around because we're reconstructing? We didn't even have a good identification procedure. And principals got to choose whether or not they had a get the program. So those kinds of things, that is what we're doing to curb bright flight. We are going to show that every one of our campuses are safe, have rigor, and that is the place to be. And we have the kids to do it. We just need to get everybody understanding that.
Which specific programs would you recommend to the board purchasing as a result of cost avoidance? Specific instructional programs.
Well,
that's something that you believe is necessary. Which specific ones would you recommend purchasing?
Actually, I'm not a big person on going out and buying programs. I'm a big person on fixing what you've got wrong. Because I think a lot of times you can program yourself into looking like you've got to. If you have got well-trained teachers who know what they're doing, who are committed to rigor and relevance, and who are held accountable for that, then programs are kind of more than nice to have. But right now, our program is basically, we're working closely with Boehner to make certain we're doing what we need to do and tapping into their substantial resources.
Great, thank you so much, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, we got that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure they have it.
Hi, my name is Ruth Booker, and my daughter is a student at AJ Moore. I won't be asking about AJ Moore at this point. My concern is the child care center that you guys opened. I know that it's been in the news in the past, that y'all are not at capacity. Have y'all considered closing that? What if the teachers and the kids or whatever who have kids there did before this center was open? I'm sure it's helpful, but, you know, it's cost saving.
We are actually losing approximately $100,000 a year on that program. I will be recommending, I felt committed that when we said this is going to be a school year program, that it would not be right to go in December and say we need to close that facility. So I will be recommending in February, March sometime, that we close that facility in June.
That was all my question. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melanie Lockhart, and I have a student at Mountain View, and I will say that he was previously at a private school, which is also the other only IB private school in Waco. After meeting with Dr. Shepard, we transferred to Mountain View, and we're so happy with the program. After 3 weeks, we bought a house and moved in addition. But I would say, what are your goals in, you did the kind of consultant with the demographics. Did they identify where you were losing students, at what grades versus what campuses?
Actually, they were not charged with that because I don't think we, and I don't want to make it sound like we know it all, but I think we pretty well know why people are leaving.
I mean, from my personal experience, peer group friends, I would think that there's certain areas of the town that you're losing, and what are there programs to strengthen those schools to attract them? I mean, I'll still not get anybody to listen.
Yes.
But I know Mountain View is a school where a lot of the neighbors either go to Mountain View or they go to private. So elementary is the one place where it's easy to get them back. So Mountain View needs to remain strong, and I would say that Mountain View's PTA is a lot stronger than private school, which shocked me. I mean, Jamie's the one mother with me. We'll have millions of people in the classroom. At the private school, when no mom worked, there may be 2. And they were sitting in the corner texting. So, I mean, when you divide Mountain View, you're dividing. And also at the junior high level, I mean, from my experience, a lot of people leave at 6th grade. Who may go to Mountain View or wherever. When you put 6th grade back through 8th grade, are there issues with that? I mean, historically, when I was in Waco ISD, 6th grade was separate than 5th grade because parents were scared of 6th grade from 8th graders. So what, y'all have any history with that?
The 6th graders kind of different. They don't seem to belong with 5th graders. They don't seem to belong by themselves, and they don't seem to belong with anybody else.
If you do have to split Mountain View, is there an advantage to K through 3 and 4 through 6?
Well, actually, that's not right now something we're considering. What we are looking at is leading, either it's going to be Viking Hills, Mountain View, but one campus and be larger. What we're trying to do is what you're talking about at the beginning. Make it more attractive because we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, what we're actually getting taxpayer money to do. But your issue about the middle school is well taken, and actually Dr. Boswell will be making a presentation to the board this month recommending a school within a school at Tennyson. We're looking at 2 at Carver in Tennyson to have some advanced academic magnet type programs to try to address those needs you're talking about because we want to get everybody back.
Thank you. It's the end of our time, so we want to get as many as we can. Yes, sir.
Pastor Fernando Morales, and I'm a concerned parent. My son is enrolled in Lake Air, and he's 6th grade. My question is, what's going to happen with the IB program? Is that going to continue in the other middle schools, or is that going to stop right there, or?
Lake Air didn't get as far as it could in the IB program. We were working toward being an IB program when we realized we're having all these money issues and that we really needed to address district-wide advanced academics. And there was no way to sustain that program. We didn't have the support at Lake Air. We weren't ready for an IB program. Okay. So we backed off on that, and we're working on our overall advanced academics program. But to offset that, again, at that Tennyson, which is going to be the 6, 7, 8 of the former Lake Air 7, 8, to put in an advanced academics component for those who want those kind of challenges.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
citizen. I'm a ninth grader at AJ Moore, and I was learning about the safety if we were to move to university because we heard about all the fights that they have, and we don't ever have fights at AJ Moore. And then my other question was, what about academics? Because I'm a nerd, and so I want us to still be challenged in our classes and not just be sitting there and falling asleep.
The fighting issue a few minutes ago. Since in the interest of time, let's talk about the academic question. I'm with you, I was a nerd too, so.
Well, what we will have is, actually, being a school within a school concept, there will be an area. It's not like they're fenced off and this is where AJ Moore is and this is where university is. It's going to be mostly here in this wing or in this area. Now, of course, when they go out and other kids come in, that's where that. But at lunch, students will be together for lunch in other areas. We don't want students not to feel safe anywhere, in any campus, at any time, regardless of who's moving where. So again, Carla said that we're working with that and the perceptions of that. But you will feel safe. It is our job to make certain that you and your parents feel like whatever school in Waco ISD you're in, whether it be University High, University Middle School, Kendrick Elementary, that you are safe. That is our job. We say academics is #1 for us, but it's not. It's safety. Now, does that mean no one ever fights and there's not anything that goes on? Yes, that happens. But we commit that it's not going to happen anymore. And if this happens, and AJ Moore, UC University High, what we're going to start doing is going to AJ Moore and to these other schools and finding out what we can do to ease the transition. And if it means showing you the statistics at AJ Moore and the statistics on fighting at University High, which might surprise you, it would be looking at that. There's a rumor. The high school kids are wonderful at rumors. I could tell a kid something at Waco High and say, do not tell anybody this. And by the time I get to AJ Moore, the story's already there. So some of it's perception, some of it's something we need to tend to more, but I don't care how nerdy you are, you don't worry, okay? Thank you for being here. Okay, we like that.
Question in this section, and then we're going to take a short break and we're going to come back. Y'all have been wonderful. Great questions, wonderful spirit. We're very excited about that. Let's have our last question. And we're really sorry.
It's me again. My name is LaTanya Henderson, and yes, I have a child, AJ Moore. I guess my question is, because I've attended most of the meetings, board meetings that you've had, and I'm trying to figure out why there was not an option to try to keep AJ Moore open, because I see the orange and the green, they're both the same. Before, there were several talks about keeping AJ Moore open. There were several good options that were presented at all the meetings. Some of them, yes, the children may not have fully agreed to them. However, they could have stayed at the options that you did have previously, did keep the children at their campus. I mean, you did have the option before of leaving the children at AJ Moore with the option of GW Parker being housed there. And when was it decided or thought that the parents wouldn't go along with that? I have a child that's in middle school. If I know her sister is going to be at the same campus that she's at, then that's another way for me to participate at that school. And I'm sure most parents would love to go to one school instead of two, and knowing that they're going to have a great principal there, that they're going to be with other siblings, that they're going to get, good academics there. So when did that happen where you decided that AJ Moore is going to completely just close? Because I know you're telling us that it's not going to close. Let's just be honest and say that the school is going to close. It's not going to be AJ Moore anymore unless you're going to rename University High School AJ Moore Academy. I mean, I can't logically see how AJ Moore is going to be housed in University High School and still be AJ Moore. That makes no sense logically. I mean, when was it decided that, why wasn't there even an option to try to keep the kids at their school?
Let's give opportunity. Thank you so much.
First of all, nothing has been decided. If something had been decided, we wouldn't be here because it would be over. I mean, if they had decided something, the board members would not be sitting here, okay? I have brought several proposals to them. The reason A.J. Moore continues to be a proposal that I take to the board and say that this is, in my opinion, not an option, is right there.
But it's still moved to another campus, it's not at its campus.
Right,
Wasn't
okay.
there an option for it to stay on its campus, is that question?
That's why, because even moving A.J. Moore, we're at 74% utilization. Now remember, at 85%,
However, even the principal was saying that she could get that school filled up to full capacity. She has the capacity to fill that school up. I mean, if it's just a matter of it taking in more kids, she even said at a lot of the meetings that she has the resources, if given enough time and deadline, to get that school at its full capacity.
Okay, even if that happens, even if that happened, okay, let's say that happened and we got A.J. Moore at 900 full. Okay, that would mean University or Waco High is now at 25% capacity. I now still have 3 high schools, one of them's at 25% capacity. If I could put the other high school at A.J. Moore, that would work.
Because that should be the responsibility of those 2 schools.
I understand your passion on this issue. I'm just trying to kind of get us.
Did I answer the other question?
Yeah, no, I think you kind of talked about it. And again, thank you so much for your, yes, make sure you come up here and check that out. All right, so Verizon, and we all know that Verizon knows what time it is. If it wasn't for Verizon, I wouldn't know what time it was. It's just about 8 o'clock. What I would like for us to do is to take 10 minutes, use the restroom, see the facility, walk around a little bit, get a drink. And then when we come back, what we want to hear are your ideas for different solutions. We'll start there, and if we have time left, then we'll come back to questions about the proposals. But I think the district is really interested in hearing other possible solutions. Maybe that would be the yellow solution, or the red solution, or their ideas, and presenting them here this evening. Now what we would like to do is to hear from you. If you have alternative solutions, we all want to be part of the solution, not just part of the problem. And so what we want to do is give you an opportunity to come forward and offer suggestions, alternative ideas, things that haven't been explored, things that you think are missing in these plans. And then after you've made a suggestion, we may give Superintendent Cain or some of the board members an opportunity to ask you a question about what you proposed. So is there anyone in here who has a thought, a suggestion, something that we might do? Well, come on, we started with you before. You set a good example for everybody else, so come on back. Is this going to be don't close A.J. Moore?
One of the suggestions that I thought that the board could make for not closing A.J. Moore, because the city of Waco is trying to build up downtown Waco and bring in the young professionals that are coming in. We should actually try to build up A.J. Moore as the magnet school or the school of choice that they want to send their children to, and even the schools like Viking that are recognized so that these young professionals who are having these children, even though they're like 2 or 3 years old right now, we should be trying to build up those schools and advertise those schools. I know as a newcomer to Waco, that was one of the things that brought me to Waco was the school, A.J. Moore and Vikings and the Montessori schools. As a parent who's concerned about their child's education, you want to make sure that your child can go to the best possible school that you can. So I'm thinking, why don't we try to play that up? We have these great, awesome schools. Why don't we try to play that up to these schools and put the funding and the money into that? I think of...
I'm going to just interrupt you just a second and see, because one of the things that Superintendent Cain, she's been very gracious to answer questions from folks here. Do you have a question or comment, or Mr. Atkins or any of the other folks from the board? Not to call anybody out.
And no, I'm not a business management or anything like that, but I have dealt with some marketing.
And that is what I don't think I've done a good job of explaining, is that it's really a money, all the ideas you have are good ideas, but if we don't close some schools, which if we need to close A.J. Moore, we would need to close like 5 or 6 other schools, which would cause problems in other areas, because this is not a school closing issue for us, it's a money issue. And if we don't close schools to free up money, we will have to from those very schools that you value and that we value. So if we said, well, let's leave all the schools open because why don't you go take
Just leave all the schools open.
Or leave 2 of them open, AJ Moore and Viking Hills.
Well, I'm just saying, let's keep some of the schools and consolidate them. There shouldn't be 2 or 3 schools in one neighborhood, let's just be honest. That makes no sense. If I have a school on one street and I can go 3 blocks down, there's another school there, that makes no sense for there to be 3 schools in that same area. So yes, there should be some school closings. I'm just saying some of the schools that are well off, like one of the parents made an option of closing one of the schools and moving Meadowbrook to one school, or vice versa. Let's keep the school that's doing better and play that school up, but AJ Moore is one of the schools that's leading as far as the high schools, so that we can attract some of the businesses and their revenues and their funding. Because let's just be honest, it's about money.
Thank you so much. And again, feel free to come up here and just. Yes, sir. Tell us what your idea is for solving some of our challenges.
Well, I attended the December business board meeting, and one of the ideas just thrown out there was placing 8th graders in the high school level. I can't decide if I'm supportive or against that yet, but I sent an email the next day asking to all the board members and the superintendent if anybody could come up with a proposal. I never got a response. Well, I got a response that it was put into the criticism or input.
Again, we would be moving students around. I mean, that would help the high schools. That would build up capacity at the high schools. Now we have to close middle schools down because, again, the goal is to get it 85%. And it really doesn't matter which schools are closed at the end of the day when you get 85%. But you got to have that balance because if you have 3 high schools, it's got 8. Then we need now to close a middle school, and we're going to have we're one of the larger ones. I'm just trying to do the numbers in my head. And I know that doesn't seem as critical to you, but we have a lot of parents who feel like that. I actually recommended to the board that we close Brazos and it would be your C plan, but some board members felt strongly that our weakest area academically is at the middle school. And I think that point's well taken. So do we want to make it the numbers that tight at the middle school until we get a handle on making those academic programs stronger? So again, we would have to close the middle school, so we're trying to get to 85%. Well, then we could say, well, let's move all the 5th graders in and make middle school 5, 6, 7. Well, now we would be closing some elementary schools. So again, it's just a numbers game. It's a numbers game.
I just feel disappointed when we're told that this is the starting line of discussions, but both the only 2 plans that are being proposed right now have the exact same outcome on the middle and a high level.
And that point was brought up before because, and Mr. Atkins talked about we had plan A, B, C, D, and whatever. And the board could have brought 3 or 4. You know, the board's torn between if you bring too many plans, who can keep them straight? If you don't bring enough, if you just bring one, well, why don't you just give us one choice? So I don't think they're stuck with green or orange. I think Carla is correct. If we could come up with the yellow plan, that the board has no ownership. Trust me, I've been working with them. There is no ownership in any of these plans that they're saying, well, I hope that's the one. They're hoping you or someone else comes up with the plan that nobody's thought of that we're going to go, why don't we think of that?
It's just, this is the beginning of where the community is really getting involved. I'd like to see at least a different plan from the board itself.
And I think that's a great place. You know, it seems like what Dr. Cain is saying is 85% is that number. So anyone that has ideas about how to get to 85% different ways, submit it on the website, come to the next forum. The next forum will be organized much like this one. The first half will be conversations about the plan, and the second half will be alternatives. So I think those are the kinds of things to work through. But I'm going to move on because we've got so many faces.
You guys
Thank
are
you.
professionals. I asked for you guys to come up with these numbers for different ideas.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. My name is Patty Harford, and I'm the pesky lady that has emailed the board members for a year now. I'm the pesky lady that emails our superintendent every day until I got in trouble for it. I work at the Child Care Center. My name is Patty Harford again. Anyway, this is a talk to put ideas out there. I have a question to the board and to Dr. Cain, who I really did appreciate in answering my emails every single morning. Not on WSD's time, I made that clear. Have y'all considered moving pre-K to the child care center, which is terribly draining the district, as the parents said, and having the child care center stay open and continue to service the University and Waco High students' babies, and have pre-K in the back building? Rappaport gave $250,000. How do we propose, are we going to pay Rappaport Foundation back that money? What are we going to do with all the equipment, the wonderful building? Where will the teachers go? And where will the students' babies go when we close the child care center in June?
Your suggestion is that we put the pre-K into the child care center.
Into the WSD Child Care Center, Rappaport Child Care Center. It's perfect for pre-K. And that was brought up many months ago.
Dr. King?
Actually, it would be the same as this gentleman here. If we could put, I mean, if we think of that as a campus, another campus, and we say, okay, let's move our pre-K kids there. Okay, again, we just moved some more kids out of a school, so the capacity goes down. I mean, we're still trying to get that 85%, so we would need to close another elementary school to make up for moving all the pre-K there. So, but that is a solution. We, instead of closing the daycare, we would close another elementary.
And I'm kind of concerned about the money that the Rappaport Foundation gave. Do we have to pay this back, or what's going to happen with the funding that was given?
We do not have to pay the money back, but I would be recommending, I think if the daycare center had been open 10 years, I think it'd be fair to say, you made an investment, and we had 10 years, it didn't work out. But I feel like it's been so underserved that we should, I would be recommending that we give them that $250,000 back. Because I just feel like it's the right thing to do. And sadly,
Very sad. We are very sad. We do, I personally understand totally. I have a child care center of my own as well. I understand that we're not making it, but, and I'm very glad I came to this meeting tonight so we can kind of know where we stand.
I'm glad you do too. You've got 3 more. Come with us.
Thank you so much. Double check and make sure they've got your comments correct. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Philip Monroe. I have a daughter at Waco Montessori, which is on the cutting block no matter what we do.
Give you some really nice science to say.
And our Titan Middle School is looking at that. We discuss it daily. The parents do, and we have a wonderful staff. We're looking at all the options for that building as parents from pre-K up through the 8th grade. I guess my point would be to the board would be that we've had to come up with this thing in a rather very short period of time. Since the budget cuts, y'all have worked mad hours putting this together. I've been to the meetings, watching this debate go on. But what I'm wondering is if maybe it wouldn't be a little bit more palatable if in some areas where there is the most discussion, if those areas were, maybe studied a little bit more and implementing the ones that we know are a sure thing, and possibly doing this in maybe a year to 18 month stages instead of trying to have everything done by August of next year. I mean, the logistics alone of taking Waco Montessori, moving it into Lake Air Middle School is tremendous. And it's not just moving, okay, teacher, you're going to be in this classroom this year. There's the logistics and the technology and Montessori and the playground and the security. That alone is a tremendous leap.
And I thank you for bringing up the timeline because, I'm sure that's a question in a lot of people's mind. What's the rush? Here's what the board is facing. We can, yes, we can wait 18 months, we can wait 2 years. The board is gonna have to cut $3.4 million from the budget in August. So if they don't do it through facilities, there will be program cuts. And I don't want to say that Montessori would be on the chopping block, but certainly before they would look at cutting the English program and the math program and all those other programs, we'd be looking at magnet schools. So that's a risk, okay? We're looking at a campus that needs a lot of work and it's not serving its students well because the facility's so bad. So my theory, I mean, we would have to do a lot of cuts that I don't think anyone would like, if they can't go back and uncut. Now, later on, yes, they would maybe think about consolidating some more schools, but that's after a lot of cuts have been made.
I understand. And, yeah. Do I get time because you're adjusting now?
As many people as we can an opportunity, so, yes, ma'am.
Sorry, it's got to go back again. I'm Faith Springer, and I'm a Mountain View mom, and I have 2 boys, and we've been just so satisfied with Mountain View. It's been wonderful and more than satisfied. And I guess I totally get it. You have so much money to spend, this is the way you spend it, and this is what you do. You have to have spending. If you don't have money, you can't spend it. So I am totally for closing schools. I hate it. It hurts my heart. Don't even like to think about it. But I know that it has to happen. And I'm just thinking that Viking Hills School, you know, absorbing those 100 kids into our school, we're happy to have those kids. And then the other 100 go back to their neighborhood or whatever school. But why not sell that property? That is a beautiful piece of property right there, and I'm sure y'all can make some money. And I'm just trying to think outside of the box of ways to make income.
I feel confident that the board will be looking at when you don't want an empty building. I mean, businessman, you don't want an empty building. So we would be looking at what building would we want to maintain in case we open, but it probably wouldn't be one of the smallest campuses we have. And to be honest, just this discussion, I've gotten a lot of inquiries about what are you going to do about this. In fact, today I got a letter from somebody saying, if you're going to close any schools, and she gave me the zip code, and this zip code, please call me. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. And then that money, again, would be put back into the system. And what we would look at would be, let's say we could sell some of the buildings. If we could put a wing on Chavez, then maybe we could close Brazos and look at those kinds of things because we don't want to do this anymore. But I appreciate it. I mean, you got my whole presentation down in about 2 minutes. You may need to be the one who might sit the next 3 meetings. I like that. 2 sentences over this.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, again, my name is Brian Seymour. I'm also a graduate of Waco ISD. I graduated in '97. And when I was actually going through the district, we actually had a 6th grade center, all over Minnesota, and a 9th grade center. I was thinking, like she said, the budgets, things have to be done. Why don't we take maybe trying to look at that, putting maybe the 6th grade center or Carver back as a 6th grade center, and maybe redoing like a 6th or 7th and 8th grade on like maybe Chavez and a couple of other middle schools. And if I understood you correctly, y'all are going to try to put Tennyson in Lake Air.
Lake Air would be repurposed, and part of those 6, probably most of them would be going to Tennessee.
And because, if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that Carver Academy is currently only being occupied 50%. Now, if you take those 6th graders that are on the other campuses and put those with the kids that are on Carver, that would make that campus probably almost 100%. And you have schools like Brazos that's been around many, many years. And like I said, I don't like seeing campuses closed, but it seems like that might be one of the campuses that should be done away with because of the age of the campus.
Correct, that is one that we've had our eye on. But then again, the board wanted to wait until we get stronger at the middle level, but I think it pretty well is still in the radar screen. But, and I understand that 6th grade and 9th grade single school campus work, and I think the 9th grade is actually A.J. Moore.
Yeah, exactly. The 9th grade campus used to be housed at the A.J. Moore Center.
Well, that's a configuration you can look at again. See, those are the kinds of ideas that we
Make sure they get that, well, just make sure they have it noted, because that's something we really want to make sure we get down. Yes, sir.
My name is Leonard Lander. I've been through this school system almost, well, 2.5 times. I'm a graduate of Waco High School, the Waco High School, as we say. My kids have graduated from Richfield High School, and I've got one, or had one, in WISD until 2 years ago. I have been tutoring in WISD now for 18 years at Lake Waco Montessori, for the last 6 years, I think, 6 or 7, at Cedar Ridge. Strangely though, because of that, I'm invited to other schools all around this area. And for the last 2 years, I've represented, strangely enough, Lake Waco Montessori as a judge at the Harmony Academy for their science fair. No, that's what it said. And I told Robin, I said, can you believe it? My name, I don't retire my name, and it says Lake Waco Montessori. The thing that while I'm sitting here, and I was talking to Mr. Williams, being in that school is almost, it is like walking into Dean Highland School. They've got everything. There is nothing that they want. They are a charter school. They don't get the funds that WISD gets. So they're supposed to be living on pennies. They're not living on pennies. Where does the money come from? It's granted money coming from Dell and Microsoft, and gosh only knows how many different grants are funding that school, pouring all of this technology in it. But this is the idea. Goes back to A.J. Moore. This school is a jewel. This school is unique. And for WISD to look at this thing and say, oh, we can close campuses, this is how we're going to get money. We got to be a little bit more. We got to think up in the sky. How can we keep something is important? How do we do it besides going around cutting school? We take this school because it is a business-oriented school, which businesses are screaming that they need people who graduate and can go into business and not be arts and science students. This school can be approached to the businesses around the world to fund this school and put enough money in this thing and keep this school going as a unique school. And if it was, you know, barely going, it's one thing. This thing is one of the top academy schools in the country. So get off of your whatever and go out and sell this school and find the money to keep the thing and quit running around and say, oh, we got to close all these schools. Yes, some of them, yes, I admit it. Yes, some of these schools are. And it would hurt. Yes, ma'am.
Superintendent Cain an opportunity to respond to that. So I think what we're talking about is private funding.
The funding, that's
grant funding. Right.
Grant money. Yeah, it's not something that's going to take 5 minutes, but have you ever thought of it?
No, I've never thought that I could get enough money year after year to run a high school. I will admit that's not something that, because of the millions of dollars it takes a year to keep that school open. I mean, the budget alone for the staff and the cost, I mean, it's multi-million dollars. Now we can start, you know, we have a grant manager and we apply for a lot of grants, and the grant monies are drying up, but if you feel like there's really a business community that we can write to, is it in Waco, the business community, or are you thinking worldwide?
We're talking worldwide. I mean, there's money coming into that school over there from all over everywhere. Hey, try a little Turkey. I mean, you know, the country of Turkey, but let's be serious. No, I'm not joking, but serious. But they are getting money from all over the world to supply these schools because it is math and technology, and that's what they're looking for. This is unique business-wise with this school. And why can't you end up doing something to think about out of the box to keep that school in particular because it's different, and try to do it?
That's great. Thank you so much. be great. I don't know if we have anyone else here in the room who's part of the business community or who has ties to anything like that. If you have more thoughts on that, I think we'd love to hear those as well.
First, I want to apologize for being up here so much. People are being tired. And also, if I could just recommend that at the later meetings, the board is up there with the superintendent. I feel bad directing everything only at you, just all these suggestions.
They're here and they can listen. If they sit here as a board, it would be very different rules. So they're not missing a word. That's why they're here. But I can interact with you.
As long as you don't feel so much.
Oh, no. Trust me, I'm fine. But thank you for thinking. What a gentleman you are.
Also, I'd just like to put on the table a serious proposal up here about integrating Carver, whether it's 6th through 8th or just 7th through 8th into A.J. Moore Academy. I know it was on the table, but it wasn't in this presentation today. And so if we could have the numbers, I don't mind if we have the cons of the issue, but if we could have the cons of the other proposals also up on the presentation, just so we could get more variety in there. And I feel like the Carver option would mimic the greatly successful Vanguard Preparatory. I know it's a private school with more funding, but still they have a program that is working, getting kids into Ivy League schools all over.
I don't think having it, you just saying what you're suggesting is what they're hearing. You saying, I feel like a 7, 8 would alleviate the concern about the 6th grade. And so it doesn't have to be up there. That's why they're taking notes and that's why they're listening. Now, they're going to call me tomorrow with about 800 requests, okay? And that's why they're not addressing them now, but while they're writing and at halftime at break, at break, the board members were coming up and saying, we need to look at this and we need to look at that. So, but it won't be on the screen because we need to make the same presentation to everybody. Because if we now come up with a different one, then the people here are going to go, well, that wasn't meant in my presentation, so that's why it won't be, but that doesn't mean they're not considered.
So we're not expecting changing the presentation until February?
See, I actually had them kind of spread out in January. The board said, no. Put them in the first 2 weeks. That way, if we come up with the yellow plan and the purple plan, then they expect us to put another proposal together, and we come out for some more sessions. Yeah. But I'm thinking, then if we come up with the great plan, the chartreuse plan, but if that's what we need to do until we come up with the right plan, we'll do that. And then even go past their February deadline. If they feel like there's a plan that they can find that addresses the issue and people say, good plan, we'll be able to do it more.
And I feel like there's no discipline problem at A.J. Moore Academy that would affect the 7th and 8th grade younger students coming in. It may be a different atmosphere at the other high schools, but it's just very well disciplined. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are you going to surprise me?
I promise I won't talk tomorrow because I have children that need to go to bed tonight. I like the suggestion that the gentleman made the last time about getting funding. That was actually something that I thought about as well. There is a lot of funding out there in the Waco area. I will bring you a list of the people in Waco if that'll help at the next town meetings. I'll email it to you. I'm serious. Because there is a lot of funding out there that can help all of these schools, not just A.J. Moore. Of course, I'm for A.J. Moore staying open because I feel that it is a good school and it really is a good business center. But there's a lot of funding here within the Waco area, and I've worked with in the past with collaborating with different schools, the schools and the businesses. The businesses want to help us, but they don't know how to work with the school district. And so we need to go out there and solicit their business and their partnerships. And if you want the suggestion, and like I said, I will go out there personally. If I have to go to their businesses and ask them to keep that school open, I will.
And actually, I have a budget. We have exactly how much it costs to keep each campus open. That is a book I should have brought. Whoa. So we can give you an idea how much we need so we can get started. 1 year, A.J. Moore. Pressure's on me. Okay, Dr. Davis, we'll come back.
I just have a comment as it relates to the apathy and maybe how we can begin to address that, because I think that is something that indeed is contributing to parents leaving our district. And I think it contributes to our underperformance. And I just really believe that people will pay for what they believe in. And there has to be an atmosphere that is created across the district where people really believe that the schools are working on behalf of the parents. And parents have to have a choice, and they have to be able to buy in. And one of my greatest contentions against the closing of schools, and particularly one that is performing well, such as A.J. Moore, is that it simply says to the people that you don't matter anymore. And that is what is contributing to the apathy. When you have people like Ms. Henderson and others that are coming up and they're fighting valiantly for their school, what you don't do if you want to improve apathy is close the door in their face. What you do instead is you get them on the team. And if you get them on the team, people will find a way to pay for what they believe in. And that's my prediction.
If you've not heard Pastor Davis preach, you just heard Carl. He's great. Go to his church. That was just kind of a little snippet there.
I was thinking that Coach Bryles could use him.
Oh, yes.
Well, I don't have a new suggestion, but I don't feel like I can leave tonight without saying that I feel actually pretty good about A.J. Moore combining with University High. I mean, I've been out to University High campus. It is gorgeous. There are fabulous facilities there. Like I said, my husband used to teach at A.J. Moore, and I understand it's been renovated since then, but I mean, he was in a room with temporary walls where kids could throw stuff back and forth from one room to the other, where one kid would sneeze in one room and the class next door would say, "Bless you," you know. I mean, and the idea that he could have been teaching at university instead, I mean, that to me is a fabulous suggestion. Now I do have concerns that the same kind of administration and the same kind of one-on-one interaction can be maintained, but I feel a lot better about those after hearing you talk about the standards that are set for academies. And I just want to, I guess it's my understanding that we're not talking about shutting A.J. Moore down in the sense of closing down the academy. We're just changing buildings and put it in a much, much nicer facility. So, like I say, I don't have a new suggestion, but I just, I feel like there's a lot of energy built, around that building, and having been in that building, unless it's a whole heck of a lot nicer than it used to be, that building is not a huge loss in the context of what needs to be done as far as saving money to me.
What they're talking about is you'll listen to people who come up here, they're talking about their teachers, they're talking about the nurturing, they're talking about the counselors, they're talking about the administrators. And see, I'm planning on picking all that up and moving it. But there is a sense, it is nice when it's on building. It's kind of like a Cadillac, it's not like Rock and Hill. Any high school that could be 686 and fully staffed is going to have some advantages. It's just that we can't afford it anymore unless we can think of some other options. But again, if we can get funding and those kinds of things, then we can keep it. But yes, if it does move, what you're talking about is what we want to happen. And I will talk to the board about changing it, that the name would be inclusive of A.J. Moore. And it's my understanding that in the last consolidations of high schools, there was some consideration of that. So it's good to hear. When you have people fighting for your campuses to stay open, even though it's in a situation like this, it says a lot about the school. That people are saying, I love the school, keep it open. So even though it's a money problem, it sounds great. It's kind of a good problem to have, that people are saying, I'm fighting for my school. I guess it doesn't make sense.
All right. Any other good ideas? Any business persons who want to come forward and get on this list? Because she's going to come knock on your door.
Okay, here's what we need. 1 year, A.J. Moore, $4,564,784.
Is that what you need, or are you going to say that, or are you just saying the 700,000?
No, if we close it down, we avoid the cost.
That's all you're really saving.
Right, it's 650. Yeah, it's a cost avoidance by making. Oh, even if we don't charge them, we get $5,090 per kid, and this bonus that can cost us $750. Oh. So, that's 650 kids, 81.24 staff members.
What does that cost avoidance include besides the building itself?
The cost avoidance, what happens, let me use an elementary because it's easier, because it's smaller. Okay, you've got two elementaries, one's got 250 kids, another one's got 250 kids. And then you have an elementary that's got 500 kids.
I understand what a cost avoidance is. I'm asking what's in that amount of money, what are those costs we are avoiding besides the building itself?
Well, you don't have to have all the administrators. Now, the teachers usually, it's probably the same number of teachers, but it is actually running the building. It's the utilities, it's the insurance, it is, I don't need 2 librarians, I just need 1. I don't need 2 principals, I just need 1. Probably need more assistant principals. You know, the assistant principal number may not change. The counselors, it's just consolidating and being more efficient. It's an economy of scale that you have. I don't have to have 2 musicals or 2 bands. I mean, and that's one negative to AJ Moore is that the electives are limited.
I just wonder what the cost avoidance would be even if we held on to administration.
Okay, what he said was, I wonder what the cost of avoidance would be, but even if we held on administration, are you saying that if I'm planning on moving Ms. Ryer over there, is that saving as much money?
Well, I understand it wouldn't be, right?
Well, I don't think I'm doing a good job of answering your question.
What would the cost avoidance total be each year?
What would the cost avoidance be if we're not letting go of the administration as a whole?
I'm thinking it's going to be $600,000 a year, every year from now on, by not having this do it. And if that was the only school we had, that we could probably make cuts. It's fact that it's the $600,000 in the midst of a $3.4 million shortfall. It's the cumulative total that we're going for. Can I answer your question?
I just would like the number if we hold on to all the administration. 600,000. Is that?
Well, when you say handling administration, I mean that is part of the 600,000. Would be let's say principal costs $80,000. Okay, of the 600.
But you're going to move all that administration from AJ Moore.
Right.
So what he's saying is, would you still save $650,000 since you're not giving up any of the administration if you move them over?
Well, one, let's start with Cain. When you call it administration, you're not talking about literally assistant principals and principals. You're talking about all the people in the system. Okay, like there's a school secretary. I don't need 2 school secretaries if they're in the same one. I don't need 2 PIMS people. I don't need 2 librarians. I don't need 2 cafeteria staffs. I don't need, now, I probably need part of that cafeteria staff to have more. But the assistant principals, let's say there's 2 here and there's 4 at university. I probably just need 5 and all. Now, we're going to find we're doing this in attrition, but at the end of the day, we probably can do 5 assistant principals. When Ms. Ryer decides on her own not to be associated with the academy, we probably wouldn't use someone who has a principal certificate who is as expensive as she is. She's worth every cent. Don't read anything into this. But that would be the time that we would say, okay, Ms. Ryer isn't going to be here till she's 150. Ms. Ryer, would you make certain we have an instructional specialist or an assistant principal or somebody that you don't leave until you feel like there's Angela Ryer Jr. here to make certain the program keeps its integrity. So the first year when you do consolidations, you don't save as much money because like moving to Lake Air, as that gentleman said, we need to put some money in making little cubby holes that aren't there. Now once we put those cubby holes in, we're done. So the years after that, you really saved $500,000 for our elementary. You probably just saved $375 the first year. But again, it's a cost avoidance every year from now on, that building's not open.
All right, that's a great discussion, and we've had a long night. Dr. Cain has been up here for a very long time. I want to say to you all, this conversation is not finished. It's just getting started. And if you go to the WISD website, you'll see what I'm about to tell you. There are more listening sessions. On January 9th at University High, and January 10th at Cesar Chavez. And that one, there will be a significant portion of it in Spanish. So if you have folks who would prefer, all in Spanish, folks who would prefer to participate in a forum in Spanish, we encourage them to attend that one. On January 11th at A.J. Moore, and on January 12th at G.W. Carver. So there are many more of these things going on. Go to the website. Offer your comments on cards before you leave. But the district really does want to hear what it is that you have to say. And so I think it would be great if you all would give Dr. Cain and the school board members who've been here let me also just say here at the end, the League of Women Voters will be helping facilitate all of these sessions to try to help make sure they go smoothly and we get through a lot of folks. And as a side plug for us, every April, we are involved in one of the candidate forums here in town where we have folks who are running for mayor or county office or sometimes even school board who participate in discussions. And if you're interested in learning more about what folks who are running for office plan to do or what they think, please feel free to come to one of our open candidate forums. And you'll see ads for that in the Trib and Randall. But we are excited to help serve our community. And I'm thrilled that all of you are here tonight, and you guys have done just a tremendous job. So thanks to you as well. Good night.